Welcome, all you lovers of horror, sci-fi, and fantasy. It's time yet again for another thrilling, exciting installment of, you guessed it, Fear and Fascination, Horror, Sci-Fi, and Fantasy Unleashed. Coming at you live every Saturday night from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. That's 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Get Real Global TV. And Get Real Global Radio KGRL. You can watch us live on our YouTube channel, Get Real Global TV. We're also Get Real Global TV on Twitch and TikTok. And you can also check out our Linktree page to see all of our social media and website links. Just type in at Jennifer DeVoe Muse. You can also check out our radio station, Get Real Global Radio KGRL on Spreaker. And we're also syndicated on iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube Music, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, plus pretty much everywhere else you can watch or listen to podcasts. We're distributed by Sony Music Entertainment, Sony Music Publishing, and The Orchard by Sony, as well as 50/50 Global Music Incorporated. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Jennifer DeVoe Muse. Hello to everyone watching or listening to this broadcast around the world. Let's say hello to the sultry songstress, Amy Bowman, in the house.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Do you like that entrance?
Yeah, actually. Like, he's singing
I'm getting
to me.
better.
Woo.
I'm getting better. Okay. And then we also have the Mac Daddy of Metal, Silas Daver in the house. And of course,
what up,
and as always, my beautiful daughter, Samantha Bailey.
I hyped just for the intro.
And then you go, I always hated that fucking noise. Why do they do that in the club? I never understood that one.
I don't either. I know what you're talking about.
DJ makes me want to shoot the DJ. When they do that whole air horn fucking thing, I seriously want to punch somebody in the face. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. They seem to like certain types of clubs, though. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just saying. How's everybody doing this week? We're doing good?
Still doing
good. Absolutely. Having a great week.
I know we had a wonderful time.
Crazy. You had a little mix up.
Fuck yeah. That's what I'm saying. I know we had a great time last night with Nathan Young from Youngblood Productions over there on our other show. Yep. Wicked Entertaining. Go check it out if you want to see some interesting stuff about the music industry. And tonight we're going to bring on our featured guest. Exactly. She gets a hell yeah. We've got Shelly Martinez in the house. And if you don't know who Shelly Martinez is, where the fuck have you been in this world? I'm just saying. Right. This woman is epic. I used to love watching her on ECW Wrestling, which is part of the WWE franchise. And if you don't know who WWE is by now, you're dumb. Anyway.
You are dumb.
Come on.
What have you been?
Maybe you're not old enough to know what the fuck ECW is because they haven't been around in a while. But WWE, that's a whole nother ball of wax. ECW
is a whole nother ball of wax, man. Damn.
Right? So she played Ariel, the vampire queen. And she dressed like as a vampire, this hot ass sexy vampire, and she'd go down the stage. And I know she was a valet and a wrestler, and then she also would go down. I remember who was that? She'd go down and she'd hang upside down from the ropes like a bat. It was the most epic fucking thing ever. I was like, horror and wrestling had a baby and her name was Ariel. Oh my God. Oh, that was just the best thing ever. And if you ever watch TNA wrestling, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, She has also been Salinas on there, and many other personas on other wrestling franchises. A lot of people don't realize she wasn't just with ECW, WWE, as well as TNA, but she's also been with many other organizations over the years, and like Epic. And she's also trained at a lot of schools, like wrestling schools, like professional shit. Not just some like novice walked down there one day and said, I want to wrestle. Okay. This isn't Spider-Man in the first fucking movie. Or was that the second one? Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. What?
3 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. 3 minutes or $3,000 now. Hell yeah. She is also a podcast host, has her own show and her own YouTube channel, so check it out, Shelly Martinez. And then also she is an actress and has been in a bunch of movies and TV shows, and also, dude, horror movies. Fucking horror movies. Oh my God. Just epic. You're like the total package. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about that though?
Yes.
What I've learned in my career, okay, I've had people that like at first liked me and I liked them, right? And then nothing weird happened and they became haters. And what I realized as time went on, especially when I stepped away from wrestling, is because there were so many different layers of me, because that's just how I grew up. Like I was a latchkey kid, so I watched TV all the time, and it showed me all these different things, and that's why I got into like watching old school like horror, and that's what got me into that, you know what I mean? And then at the same time, like I did like fitness, so it's like my who I am is just all over the place, and so it made sense just to do that for a living, do what I love, right? So
yes,
what I realized is not everybody has that. And I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody or anything like that. It's just, I just like all kinds of things that really don't go together. Like they just don't go together, but that's just me. And what I've learned is there's a lot of people out there like that. And those are the people I gravitate to. And those are the people who I always vibe with. And we'll always find each other, because even though there's that group of us, most people, they stick with just one thing, and then they just that's it. That's the one thing I like. That's what I am. But then you got people that are just like, dude, I like all kinds of things: music, wrestling, horror, you know, Saved by the Bell, like whatever, you know, it's all over the place. You know? And that's okay. And I think there's people out there, they feel they can only like the one thing. Because I remember, I say this story often, and I hope the universe works like this. I hope the girl who did this to me somehow finds it, and maybe she'll stumble on this. So I'm gonna say it. When I was in high school, okay, the first day of school, I wore this really cute black sundress, black, and then those black and white thigh highs.
Oh
and Doc Martens, you know, it was the time.
Oh hell yeah!
The second day of school, I wore jean shorts, because you know, growing up here in SoCal, it's hot still when you go back to school. So I had on jean shorts and a Candlebox shirt on. So this gothic girl comes up to me and she goes just like this. Do you think you're gothic? And I was like, no. And she was like, I saw what you had on yesterday. I was like, yeah. And she's like, now you're wearing a Candlebox shirt. And I was like, I love Candlebox. Yeah. I love Candlebox. So, and so that's kind of like my first introduction of not only do people hold on to that one thing typically, but they hate on other people who like different things. So what I wore the day before, it was cute. Yeah. It was cute. That's what it was. And you know what? I love Candlebox, so I wore the effing Candlebox shirt.
Fuck yeah.
So people, you do you like what you like.
Yes.
And there's been people that have been like, you know, they see me, for example, or they've known me like in the wrestling world, like my peers and stuff like that. So they see that one side of me, but then when they started seeing another side, they're like, wait a minute, I thought you were into this. It's like, yeah, and So what?
Yeah.
And
Right?
what's the big deal? Like here. And I don't know. So I just want to throw out that good message. You can like different things, people. It's okay.
Amen.
And it's okay if they don't match. It's
Amen.
okay.
one minute I'm listening to Marilyn Manson. The next minute I could be listening to Sia. Next minute I could be listening to Miley Cyrus, and then I could be listening to Gojira, and then like my fucking shit's all over the place.
Yeah,
it depends on my mood.
Yep.
It depends on like just a lot of it's just my mood. Like
Hey.
you know what I mean? Like one day I just want to listen to more happy, positive shit. The next day I want to listen to like, you know, I'm gonna slaughter your children kind of stuff. I'm just kidding.
But that's the thing, because that's what music's there for, right? It's there for you for whatever mood you're in. Or it could be nostalgic. Maybe that crazy song, it reminds you of a time, like, you know, whatever. So it's like, it's okay. And people get so, I just see, as like the older I get, I just see it happening. And then not only that, but then like my generation of people have had kids now. And so now they're teaching that to their kids. And then you just see it continue. And it's like, someone needs to be talking about that it's okay.
Yes. Because they get mired down in a box. Like they get mired down by like, oh, okay, I'm only supposed to like this one thing or work at this one type of job or in this type of field or only watch this type of music or, you know, or movies or whatever.
Right.
And you're pigeonholing yourself into that fucking corner and into that box. And why not be versatile? Why not like many different things? You know, one week I might want to watch Buffy, and then the next week I might want to watch Criminal Minds. I don't know. And then I might want to go watch RuPaul's Drag Race or some Dragula with the Boulet brothers. Who fucking knows? Every day or every week, it's different. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel that that feeds different parts of you.
Yes.
So if you're only feeding the one part and letting the rest of what is part of you kind of die out over here.
Yeah.
That's why you got people walking around all miserable and like some of them get depressed because, and I know this because there's been times I wasn't feeding certain parts of me that I needed to keep alive for my own sake and my mind, body, and soul. And then once I went back, like how many times have you guys thought about something that really brings you joy, but then like when life happens, you're not really doing it, you're not keeping up, like whatever, and then you're like whatever, but then that day you're finally like, screw it, I'm gonna go do it. You feel like, why did I do this to myself? Like for months now, I could have been if I just would have. And I think that that's why there's people, they're not feeding those parts. And I talk not because I'm better than anyone, but because it's happened to me. It's happened to me. And I was like, whoa, I need to make sure I'm still doing that. Like, it's okay to take a step back and regroup, and it's okay to feel. But when these are things that service you, you got to go back to it. And there's people out there that don't even know what that feels like because they're hanging on to, well, I want to be accepted, or no, I feel comfortable just knowing this. So I'm not going to feed that part. And I think it's sad.
Right. It is. It is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a piece of you dies or something, you know what I mean? Like, it's sad. When you're not truly doing what you love, you're not going to feel fulfilled or as a whole person, you know what I mean? So I get it.
So that girl who bullied me about my Candlebox shirt, I hope you relaxed and saw that Candlebox is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. Yeah, that's really good. So I've got a good question. How did you get into wrestling and want to do the persona of Ariel? What made you want to be a vampire chick that hangs upside down from the ropes?
It's a really interesting story because, okay, I always knew I was supposed to be in WWF. Everyone thought I was crazy. They're like, what? Like, people that like I grew up with, my own family members, they're like, wrestling. And for me, I've had different relationships with wrestling because there was the era, because growing up in the 80s and the 90s. So in the 80s, I remember Glow, and I remember those women, specifically Americana, they made me feel like I can kick ass. Like I can kick ass. And long story short as I can make it, my growing up, there was a lot of abuse going on and things like that. So I felt like unsafe. And so when I would watch these wrestling women, they made me feel like, oh my gosh, like you can kick a guy's ass, especially when they were showing up like on Married with Children and like beating up Al and like all this stuff. It was like a thing. And I don't think people realize that. They made me think like, oh, wrestling, but it's like Glow wrestling back in the day. That's because here's the thing, like when I tell my story, like throughout the years, I always go back to when Cyndi Lauper was on WWF. And that's true because I loved Cyndi Lauper.
Yep.
But then I started to really think back. I was like, I feel there's something missing for my story. And that's when I started peeling the onion back. I was like, no, dude, it didn't start with that. It really started with those women and Glow.
Yes.
Because they were doing it. They were doing it. And then not only that, like I said, they were doing back and then getting these on Roseanne. And like, they were doing these shows that were high, like rated shows.
Yeah.
And there's the Glow women. And what are they doing? They're being badass. They're beating up the men. They're like, they're being them. So it's like that was like they're superheroes to me. Okay. So then that along with Cyndi Lauper, she just made it look like that's what I want to do. I want to be theatrical. I want to be part. And then, I watched it here and there, but then I committed to watching it during the Attitude Era. Now, the people in the Attitude Era, because like people always ask me like, who did you look up to, or like who was your inspiration? And it's like there's not like a one person. It was just like my soul knew that's what I was supposed to do, and I was supposed to be there. I was missing out by not being there. That's why I knew I was supposed to be there. So I'm like, what do you do? Because by this time it's like the late 90s, early 2000s, and over here on the West Coast, wrestling the presence was not like how it is in the Midwest or the East Coast or even overseas. So it's not known that there's like wrestling schools and like this and that and the other. So what I did is after high school, and again, everyone said I was crazy. They're like, oh, Shelly thinks she's going to be in wrestling and that she's going to be this like model and da-da-da-da-da.
You are.
Bitches, watch. So then I was like, well, how do I be a wrestler? So that's when I was like, I'm going to commit myself to trying to be an actress model because that's something else I wanted to do. It wasn't just wrestling. It was that too. Now, I was able to do that because, of course, at first I had some jobs and stuff. But long story short, my dad, when I was 18, died in a car accident. And he worked for the Chino prison. And because he worked in that kind of a job, my sister and I, we got a check from the government for until we got married or 25, whatever happened first. So I was really able to like budget that money and just be like, you know what, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm just going to do this. And so I lived about an hour away from LA without traffic. There's no traffic an hour away. So really over an hour. And I was doing the thing, man. Auditions. I was mailing out. I was getting scammed by people here in town. Like the whole story. But what I did is I always talked about how I was going to be a wrestler. And I knew that that would stick out because I was all about the Sex Pistols. And when Sid and Nancy came out, the whole story about Courtney Love, like, bossed her way on there, I never forgot that because it was on MTV. They did the whole thing on, like, MTV News. And so with this wrestling thing, I was like, I'm going to be Courtney Love about it. Like, I'm just going to be like, look, she did it. Look at her. Look at you're wearing an MTV. And we didn't even know we were going to go there. Meant. So we're in the right track, all of us. So I was like, okay, Courtney Love. And so that's what I did. So I was like, okay, like Courtney Love, I need to do something that sticks out. So I just like, I'm going to be a wrestler for WWE or F one day, blah, blah, blah. Everyone thought I was crazy. So a casting director Sandy Alisi Casting, shout out to them.
Hell yeah.
Sandy Alisi Casting, they've been in the business for a long ass time. They cast me for an independent film about wrestling, and they used local wrestlers. So that's when I met wrestlers that were local, and I was like, so how do I be a wrestler? Like, tell me, what do I need to do? And so they were like, okay, well, you go to wrestling school, and then you start to train, and then you have matches, and then you start to, like, when you get good, you start to venture out and you wrestle in other places. You get and then you send your tape out to your VHS tape out to WWF and like try to get your job, try to get that contract. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And so the owner of that school was like, yeah, come on down. And I'll give him this. Like, I had a falling out with him. That's why I'll never say his name, because I don't want to give him credit. But,
I got you.
I will say this: he never charged me a day for training, so that helped me, because even though I had that money, I mean, I was living off of it, so I had to budget it, you know.
Right.
And that's why I'd have BS jobs here and there to try to, like, whatever, while I'm doing this wrestling actress thing. So that's where it started, and I did just what the guy said. I started training, and then I started having matches, and then I started wrestling outside, and then it was becoming this reality. And then where I finally got looked at, that next step forward, because I was modeling still and all that, I did modeling for West Coast Choppers, Jesse James.
Oh, hell yeah.
And he built motorcycles for The Undertaker. So he was like, one day I was hanging out with him, and he was like, so tell me again why you're not in WWF. I was like, I don't know how to be in WWF. And so he was like, okay. Because that day I was, even though I had modeled for him already, he had booked me for his Monster Garage show, because they were doing a thing where they were changing a U-Haul into a wrestling ring. So it's like a travel. So that was the whole thing they were doing. So I was one of the wrestlers. And so that's when he told me that. He was like, tell me again. And I think at that time, because he knew I wanted to be this wrestler, right? But he had never seen me wrestle. But because of the show, he's seen me in the ring. So I suspect that's why he was like, so why aren't you in WWF? And so like literally 2 days later, WWF called me, and they were like,
holy shit.
And that's when it started for me to get looked at. Now that took a year. So when they'd come into town.
Right.
And that's how you go about it. Like, you come into town, you get invited. You even get paid to be there. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
They give you a look-see. You get to politic if that's your thing, whatever.
Right.
So just did that. And then, when the time was right, everything went into plan. And then I finally got hired and went to Kentucky. And I lived there for a couple years. And then when they fired me, I moved back to California. So that's the short story, even though it's long. But I always, to answer your question, I always knew I was supposed to be a wrestler. And the thing that's interesting about it is, when I first got hired, I was told that I was only going to be at the wrestling school for a short amount of time, because I was going to go on the road as a vampire with Gangrel, this guy, Kevin Seven, and Jimmy Wang Yang. And I was like, holy cow, because I consider myself a vampire.
Hell yeah.
I saw Lost Boys.
Fuck yes.
When I was a little girl. Can
I be a vampire with you? Yeah. I've always wanted to be one. Just saying.
You have to earn it. You have to earn it.
You're my goddess. You always have been. I swear.
So when they said this, I was like, oh, I get to be a vampire? Because what people don't realize is, you usually don't, until you like have some pull, get control of what your character is.
Yeah,
so
no.
The fact that they were like, oh, you're going to be this vampire. I was like, cool. So I moved to from California to Kentucky. I'm literally there for a day, and they released a bunch of people, including Gangrel and the two other guys.
Oh, right, Gangrel.
I was like, I thought I was supposed to be a vampire, and so. Went through the whole journey of trial and error of different things there. But then when they decided to revamp ECW, they were like, so here's the deal. You're going to be a tarot card reader, but then you're going to get bit and you're going to be a vampire. And I kid you not, Like it was almost like the timeline of when I became a vampire on television with WWE at this point. Um, the timeline of that I feel was the same month those guys got released. So like a year later, and one of those guys they brought back, and that was Kevin Thorne, the guy that came out with.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I knew I was meant to be a vampire, the vampire, because even though there's been girls with a darker, spookier look, there's no other female vampire. Not even Luna back in the day was a vampire. She was scary and spooky. Yes. She was a vampire. I am the female vampire, and no one can take that from me.
You're the vampire queen. Remember that. You're the vampire
and it's because
queen.
it's organic, going back to the things that I love. Like, and the reason why I became obsessed with vampires when I saw Lost Boys as a little girl is my family, they're ghetto asses. So I've seen a lot of ugly stuff happen way too young. So to this day, I work on it. I have a fear of death. I have a death anxiety. So when I saw Lost Boys, and it's like they can live forever. Yeah. Wait a minute. Because up until then, vampires were kind of cartoony to me, right? But when I saw Lost Boys, and I was so young, I was like, oh my God, you can live forever. You can live forever. And that's why I became obsessed. Now, let's be fair. I love Lily Munster through and through, and with or without that death anxiety, I love her. But what's cool about I bring her up is, for me, growing up in that toxic environment, television was my escape. And one of those was the Munsters. Yeah. And as her son has told in a book he wrote about her, he was like, she was meant to be Lily Munster before it existed, because she was obsessed with vampire stuff, and she had books and this and that. And so my story, I feel, happened in the same kind of way, where it's like I was into it my own way, and I got to be the vampire of WWE, of wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Cool. Hell yeah. That's what I'm saying. Unique. I don't know. I always called you the vampire queen. The first time I ever saw you on fucking ECW, I was like, oh my God, she's the coolest chick ever. I'm the same way. Her and I scared of death. Like, that's like my biggest fucking fear of all time. And vampires, I'm obsessed. I've been obsessed with vampires since the 80s. Same thing. Like, just fucking love that stuff.
I bet you, if you really thought about it, why you're attracted to it, it could relate to that. I'm telling you. Because
I think maybe it's because of the abuse as a child also. I don't know.
And they take control, they live forever. They kind of call the shots, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then most cases they're very alluring, and people like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's easy, and it's like this fantasy where like you could almost feel safe, even though it's the supposed villain, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's like when you had all these other villains around you in real life, the villains over here, you kind of like connect with. They're like, ooh, and you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's deep. And then the other thing, going back to things that don't match. When WWE were like, okay, so what's your name going to be? And so they gave me, at first I wanted to be Star because of Lost Boys, and that's the
right. Yeah.
I was like, dang it. And so they gave me a list, and there was all these names, but Ariel was on there, and I am a SoCal girl. I grew up in SoCal, Disney girl. Back then it was affordable to have a year pass. So I was like Little Mermaid, and I always related to Little Mermaid because I wanted to be part of the wrestling world, the entertainment world. I didn't want to be kept anymore in this tiny world in Ontario, California, with like this crazy cult church that my family was involved in. Like, it was like I wanted to escape. I wanted to see what was out there. And they were like, that's the bad world, just like in the movie. So I was like, oh, it's Ariel. We're doing Ariel. And they were like, okay, you're Ariel. So it's all just... So girl who bullied me about Candlebox, you see? It's something you said earlier that I loved, is when you said vampire, or no, you said wrestling and horror together, because something that I'm a stickler for, and maybe it's because of that girl, is people have deemed me like gothic. And I'm like, no, did you see the shirts I was wearing? They weren't goth bands.
No.
You know, they weren't. And like
No.
the aesthetic I had, you know, the flower, I threw in some rockabilly in there, like the
Yeah.
whole thing. So it's like, no, I'm not gothic. And then I remember one of my friends, they go, she's not gothic, she's horror. And I said, yeah. Because there's
there's a
that
difference.
to me there's a huge difference.
Yes, there is.
There's
difference.
a huge difference. And I don't think I've ever been introduced on a podcast to where someone else was finally like, we're wrestling in horror. Yes.
Exactly.
Horror. I'm not gothic. Because some people are like, you're tan. You're so tan. Yeah, I'm the tan-pyre. I'm not gothic. And by the way, if you're gothic, you can be tan. You're allowed to be tan and gothic too. Just saying.
Yeah, why not? You don't have to be pasty fucking white. Come on. Yes, we had a comment from Vinnie Vincent from Hell's Gate Band.
Vinny
said, "Damn, she's hot."
Ooh.
I agree, Vinny. I agree.
Well, I appreciate
Did you ever work with
the whole world at all?
I'm sorry?
Did you ever transition over to New Japan at all?
I'm so sorry. There's like an echo.
Did you ever transition over to New Japan Wrestling at all? Like anything out there?
Okay, so back in my day, there was the Inoki Dojo here in LA. And so when I had the falling out with that first school, because I was there for a couple years, I went to this other school, and sadly, they were like, if you want to come here, you have to just wrestle for us. And I was taught old school of, if you just work the people you train with, you get like babied because you're too used to each other. Where wrestling's all about on the fly and like making magic that way. So I questioned that. And from that day forward, that guy never liked me. And he was like the big deal back then. So I was just like, oh man. And then that's when I was like, you know what? Maybe I go to Japan. That'd be cool. I was because I was very into lucha, and I loved how even though in Japan there's the whole other style, they really appreciate lucha over there. So I was just like, you know, maybe that's my path. And then the people who trained me, Ricky Reyes, Rocky Romero, Frankie Kazarian, and Samoa Joe.
Hell yeah.
And Iceman John Black. Always got to throw him out there. Not that many people know him, but they were old school, and I liked what they were doing with their careers at that time. And they were very Japan and Mexico driven and lucha driven. And so I was very attracted to that because I was like, dude. And so I started training at the Inoki Dojo. Some of the best training, and I only had done it a handful of times. There was a situation once where this guy, I won't say his name. Why? Because I'm not going to put him over like that. He doesn't deserve that. But there was this guy, and it was always really weird with me. And so we're in the ring, and he forearmed me so hard that it caught me in my ear. And when I went like this, I remember seeing Ricky Reyes. And at first they're like, yeah, because they're thinking we're having a good match. Yeah. But then he realizes it was too hard. And then I see his face get mad. And then I see him say, what the F? And then I'm not hearing it. And I was like, oh. And then all of a sudden I was just like, ooh, woozy. And then I looked at the guy with this little smug face. And I was like, all right. And I lit him up. I beat his ass hard.
Nice. Good.
And that, even though none of that should have happened, it was old school ways of thinking. We could have really hurt each other permanently. I don't condone this. But where I was in my life at that time, especially growing up and the way I did, something happened to me that empowered me when I fought back. Because he thought he was going to punk me out like that. Right. Oh, she wants to wrestle in Japan. Let me show her. That was the vibe. Okay. Yeah. You know what? Let's go, bro. And that's not the first time a guy has done that to me in training. So those moments, though, just built something in me that I felt taken from me at vulnerable times in my life. So what sucked was, I guess one of the daughters of Inoki was running it. She didn't like me. I'm not sure why. So then they said I wasn't welcome there anymore.
Oh.
Oh wow.
So I didn't go back.
That's
And
fucking.
there was a couple
Yeah.
times where I've reached out to people, other wrestlers that are like, hey, Japan that I'm working with is looking for girls. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, let's do this. And then they're like, I remember this one girl, won't say her name because she doesn't deserve it. She was recruiting for Japan.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, because I saw her at this shoot. And she looked at me, she goes, huh, it's always interesting, the people that think they want to go to Japan. And then she walked away. And I was like, and at that time, I was so broke. So the way I looked at it was, maybe this is what was meant. I finally go to Japan and I can capitalize that. That's my first run, make some money, get ahead, maybe stop getting eviction notices. That's where I was at. So when I was thinking, it was aligned. I'm working with this girl. She's looking for girls. Oh, it's meant, right? That's what I'm thinking. And for that bitch to be like, it's real interesting. And I'm just like,
Right.
so no, I never got to work over there. I guess I got pushed out before I was even invited. Freaking haters. But you know what? It's fine, because say that happened. Any of those things worked out, right? I know it would have changed how other things happened in my life, and I wouldn't be sitting right here in my bat cave that's under construction, but still here with the life that I have, the people that are in it. And if the sacrifice for having right now was not to have those things and those disappointments, I am totally fine with it, because I don't know what I'd do without the people in my life. Very small group, but I do not know what I would do. And I would have never connected with them and have them in my life if those things worked out. So that's why when people are like, oh, she's bitter, I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, if they worked out, I'm a huge butterfly effect person. Like, I wouldn't be here right now. Right here in this spot. So I'm cool, man. I'm cool. I just like to talk some shit sometimes because it's true.
I'm glad I met you. So my story with Shelly is I met her back in 2017 when I did my other radio show, Jenny's Real Talk on the Block, and she was there for a movie called Middle of the Night, right? And the what was it? The creator director had hit me up and was telling me about this movie he was pitching, and he said he wanted, he's looking for press coverage, and I was like, sure, yeah, like I love horror, and let's do this. So and then he came on, and then he told me who was in the movie and that he was bringing her along to the damn radio station, and I almost had a fucking heart attack. Because I remembered watching her on ECW wrestling, and she was always one of my favorite females of all time. She ranks up there with Chyna for me, Natalya Neidhart, Beth Phoenix. Those are my three, and she's my four. Like those are my four, like my top four. And I always loved watching wrestle. I always loved watching the hanging upside down from the ropes like a bat. I just thought it was like the best thing fucking ever. Like her entrance down, all her stuff. It was really cool. And then I used to fight against you on the SmackDown versus Raw games when they had your character on there. So I would create a female character, and then I'd have to fight against you, and I'd be like, oh fuck.
Interesting story about that. So they fired me shortly after I got scanned for that game.
Oh,
and that character is not credited as me because they didn't want to pay me royalties. So it's me. They use my
Ariel. It literally says Ariel on the fucking character.
I don't get any.
That's some fucking bullshit. Okay, I don't like that. That's not cool.
It's fine, I guess. It's
whatever.
fine. It's annoying. It's
Screw
annoying.
that. So I saw a picture. I saw a picture on Instagram that you had posted with Dave Bautista.
You bet your sweet ass.
So have things gotten better with your relationship with Dave Bautista?
You know what? I love that you bring that up because here's the thing. First of all, I want to go ahead and say on the record, I think it sucks that I'm pretty sure Batista hardly ever has to hear about me. But I always have to hear, oh, what happened with you, Batista? Oh, what, did you bang him? And da, 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 da. Like, everyone comes to me.
Yeah.
And I'm the one for all these years that has to deal with the questions. I guarantee you, because they don't tag him when they tweet at me or whatever, and people come for me. They don't tag him. Why? Because they would never bring up to Batista the incident that happened between us ever. And then those same people are so ignorant because years ago, that photo I posted on Instagram, that was taken on 11/11/11. So November 11th, 2011. So that was a long time ago. Hello, people. That was a long time ago. Nothing new. That conversation we had was so long ago, but people choose to twist my words or whatever. And it's like, we squashed this heat a long time ago. And the reason why I posted that picture was because I am monetized now on Instagram and I want to get some clicks. So I knew what I was doing.
He's big right now too. He's big right now with the movies and shit right now.
And so why I post that was the message that I put behind it was pretty much that I'm grateful for all my experiences, good and bad. Pretty much what I just summed up to you guys, but I put it in a short way. And I put that picture because that day in particular, people were, it happens all these years. I just have to deal with it almost on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So on one way or another. Yeah. So that was my way of being like, that is so 2011, people. Look, I have a receipt. It's fine. This was years after the incident. We took this photo. So it's fine. This isn't an old photo when we were friends and before we got into it. This is a showing, and that's why I took the photo. Because I wanted that to be a part, especially because it was so public. I wanted to have that receipt because it's a positive receipt. It's a good receipt. It's saying I am okay. Dave Bautista don't give a shit about me. Never has, never will. He's always going to be okay. I had it for me. I had that moment for me. So I post that. But here's what's interesting. On Twitter, I post it. And then I post this photo, this one photo, I have a bikini pic that I had from years ago. And on Twitter, I had like 10,000 views on the bikini pic and like 5,000 on Batista. But on Instagram, it was the other way around. I had like 10,000 on Batista and 5,000 on the bikini pic. So not only did I get to throw out their positive energy, not only did I get to throw out their, pay attention, you idiots that want to just try to like say whatever. Look, you don't know what you're talking about because this was a long time ago. And then read what I'm saying. And then third, thanks for the data, Instagram and Twitter. I am taking note of that data. I appreciate it.
The reason I referenced that is because I remember the story you told me about. You told me the incident that happened on the first time we interviewed. Well, we taught our conversation,
right?
And I just remember that, and I know that you got past it, but you know what I mean. It's
a story, and it's a good story because here's the thing.
It was a great story.
This is what happened, people. I'm gonna try and make it as short as I can. So, because there's, oh my gosh, you know what's different though, Jen? There's more to it now. There's more layers to it now. So here we go. All right, let me have a sip of water real quick.
I love it.
I know, right?
Story time.
Exactly.
Yeah, story time. So there was an incident that if you follow wrestling, I'm infamous for. If you follow wrestling at that time. And it's I got into this fight with Dave Bautista. A lot of people now know Dave Bautista as being an actor, but then he was just a wrestler.
Right.
So, long story short, I'm on the road. I'm being the freaking vampire. Like, I have no care in the world. Because something that's interesting, little side note real quick. I didn't feel my job was ever in jeopardy because there's only 2 vampires in this company right now, and that's me and Kevin Thorne. Like,
Right.
how can I be in competition with another diva or another female wrestler when, like, I'm a vampire? There's no competition. There's one vampire girl, and it's me.
Right.
So that's how I kind of looked at it. I didn't know behind the scenes people were like trying to pin, like, for instance, me and Candice Michelle against each other. And to this day, I like Candice Michelle, and she's always been really nice to me. But they failed because I liked her and she liked me. They failed where, like, they were like, let's get them to not like each other. It's disgusting. So that's just, I say that because that's just like the kind of high school vibes that are there.
Right.
So Dave was dating a friend of mine at the time. And I got to know him better because of that. And I really liked him. I thought he was funny. He was really nice. Like, I enjoyed talking to him. Like, I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
But one thing that annoys me, for the record, is that people assume that because I got into it with him, we banged. When, like, with all due respect, he's too muscly for me. I don't like guys that are all jacked like that. But it's not my type.
Yeah, it was too much.
Like, it's no offense to him. Like, oh, F him. I never. It's no. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's like an ugly guy. He's
type is your
zero my
type.
type. He is zero my type.
Right.
And I don't know why people assume, but whatever. Anyways, so he was dating my friend, and then they were having like issues. I was just being a friend to her, and so he didn't like. It was just like a normal, like, let's take wrestling and money and fame out of it. It was just like, my homegirl is dating this guy. He's cool. I like him. And then they're having issues. And like, he's not liking that I'm giving her advice that's kind of like, maybe you shouldn't be with him if this is what's going on. So of course he's not going to like that. So it's very simple. It's very simple. It has nothing to do with wrestling. It's just about me being too much of a homegirl to a girl. And that's where the friction started. And so there's a whole thing in wrestling where you shake everybody's hand when you like get to the building or whatever. And if you don't, especially if you don't shake somebody that's like a top guy, you can get like in trouble, if not fired. It's really weird. Fraternity-esque kind of thing, right? Which is fine. Okay, that's the rules, whatever. So he stopped shaking my hand, that Dave Bautista. And so I was like, what I would do, being who I am, we would be in catering and I'd be sitting with people and he'd shake everyone's hand to go out of his way to not shake mine. And I'd wait for him to walk just far enough. And I'd go, hi, Dave. I don't think you saw me. I was sitting right here. It's nice seeing you. I hope you have a good day. That's how I dealt with it. You don't want to shake my hand? I'm not going to get in trouble for not shaking your hand. So I'm going to make a scene so that no one could see that I didn't acknowledge you. So you can't twist it.
Right.
So that went on for a little bit. And then next thing I know, I get summons to the principal's office.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
Johnny Ace, vice principal, was there. So the vice principal was like, okay. And I see Dave's there. And he goes, so can you tell me what's going on here? Because I can't have 2 talents not getting along. And I look at Dave and I said, can you tell me what's going on? He was like, oh, it's like you and your friend have the same kind of mind and you're always thinking. So that told me this is a domestic thing here. It has nothing to do with wrestling. Okay. And so he kind of just went in circles, storms out. And then the vice principal's like, look, I don't even understand why he's mad. So just shake his hand. Just go up to him and shake his hand. And like a little bitch, because I was so hurt, because I thought this guy was my friend, and go tattle on me. I was like, I thought he was my friend. I was like, so emotional. But I shared, just to share, like, I don't think people realize I did like him. And I was enjoying becoming friends through my friend dating him. I liked him.
Right.
But I didn't like how he was stressing her out. So then I go up to him one day and he's talking. I'll never forget it. He was talking to Edge. And they were like having a good conversation. They're like laughing. I'm like, perfect time to just be PC, shake the hand. So I go shake his hand and he doesn't know who it is. And he's like smiling and then he looks and the smile goes away and he takes his hand. And I was like, oh man, he wasn't going to shake my hand. So then another incident happens. I go to shake his hand. He won't shake my hand. I'm like,
wow.
So then
big baby.
I go up to the vice principal and I'm like, look, I'm doing my part. And then he rolls his eyes and he goes, just leave him alone. I'm going to tell him I told you just to leave him alone. I was like, thank you. Because I felt like I was getting in trouble for leaving him alone. So they told me to go shake his hand. But it's like, dude didn't want to shake my hand. That means he doesn't respect me. So I'm not going to go bother the guy. I'll leave him alone. Got in trouble. Then, okay, fine. I'll boss my handshake on him like I was told. And then he gets mad. Okay, now you're going to tell him I can leave him alone. Thank you. I can leave him alone. So
nice.
Fast forward. You guys, I get it. I don't know if you're familiar with this term, but I'm a traviesa. I get myself into trouble. I'm a little troublemaker. I don't mean trouble out of spite or mean spiritness. It's always out of saying the truth.
Right.
So there was this other girl dating this guy, this wrestler, and she was confiding in me. She was my friend, another girl, and the guy was sitting over there with the Diva Search girls, all flirting with them, and my friend's sitting next to me. So, like an asshole, I am responsible for this. Okay. So, why don't you come sit over here next to your girlfriend? You know your girlfriend so and so. And he got so mad. So then later on goes by, I go up to him again. Why? I don't know. It's none of my business. But I'm just sticking my nose into this other relationship now, right? And I'm just like, she's over there crying, blah, 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 blah. And then Tommy Dreamer was like, Shelly, walk away. Just walk away. And I was like, okay. And then fast forward, the night goes, ECW at that time filmed live. So there was a match going on, and then we're going to go on live. So I'm trying to do my last minutes, whatever. And then I'm looking for hairspray. I'll never forget. So then I see that wrestler who I butted my nose into his business whispering to Batista. And I'm like, oh, no, it's going down. It's going down. I felt it. Oh, and then it goes, hey, Shelly. And now let me paint the picture for you guys. Backstage, the way they have it, there'll be a monitor up, and then the wrestlers, a lot of them, if you're not doing anything or you had your match already, you're by the monitor and we're watching the show. And then over here, a lot of the times that's where like the makeup and the hair is, it's kind of near each other usually. So that's what the case was this night. And then on top of it, Ozzy Osbourne was the musical guest. And I really connected with his drummer who used to be in Faith No More. So he and the other fellow, I forget his name. He's really good. I should know his name. But Ozzy's other guy, guitar guy,
Zach
Wild.
He has the long hair and the beard.
Black Wild.
I think so.
Yeah.
So they were really into like my character being this. Me and Kevin our characters with these vampires, and so they were like, "We're gonna stay to watch you guys." So it's like, "Oh yeah, you guys will go up, and then SmackDown will start, and then ECW's after SmackDown." He's like, "No, we're staying." So those two stayed. Ozzy left, but those two stayed. So I was this is so cool because especially. I loved in the 90s Faith No More. So I was being a mark. I was like, holy cow, like, dude, that's freaking awesome. So extra why I was like, where's that hairspray? I want to look presentable to show them. I'm on it. And so Batista goes, hey, Shelly, last I checked, that incident, I forgot how he said it, that incident in catering had nothing to do with you. So why don't you mind your own effing business? And everyone, like high school, they like, because he was over here, I was over here. So it was like a movie. Like, what's your next move? And I thought, I went to WrestleMania. I have an action figure coming out. I'm going to be in that video game. So I thought. I was like, what better day to get fired? And I looked at him and I said, last I checked, you weren't even in catering. So why don't you mind your effing business? And then everyone, and then he marches down. He gets in my face. He's like, you know what? You're nothing in this business. You don't put asses in seats. And I was thinking, who's out there waiting for me and Kevin to go? Two professionals that performed earlier today that everyone was kissing their ass because they're from Hollywood and they're musicians and they're not wrestlers. That's who the asses are in those seats over there I'm putting. But
Man.
so I had that energy. I was just like looking at him, and then like the traviesa I am, I go, honestly, I don't give a F what you think of me. And I was so calm, and he got so mad. I remember he looked around and he was like, F you! And he started pushing his middle finger in my face. And I was like, please hit me. Oh God, please, it'll hurt. But oh, please hit me here, right here at this show. Hit me, go for it. And because it got that heated. And so when I realized he wasn't going to hit me, I swatted his hand out of my face. I got in his face. I said, F you. A real man would have pulled me aside and chewed me out. Instead, you want to pop the boys? Like I said, I don't give a F what you think of me. He storms off. CM Punk and Domino were right there. I need that hairspray because I'm going live. So I go to get the hairsprays. Punk thinks I'm going after Batista. So he grabs Shelly, no! All dramatic. I'm like, I need hairspray. So then here comes the vice president, Batista. And then he's like, what happened? I told him. He goes, did you flip her off? He goes, I don't remember, but now I am. And so now I'm thinking, do you see, sir, what's going on here? And so I was very surprised that he turned to me and said, how dare you talk to top male talent that way? I almost took a bump right there. I was like, what? And I said, I don't care who you are. You disrespect me. I'm going to stand up for myself. So can we finish this when I'm done out there doing my job? Because I have a job to go out there and do. Dude, I knew that was it for me. I felt it. So when we were out there, you know, as a heel or a bad guy, you're not supposed to get cheered. But people loved Ariel. And so what I do as Ariel or did when they would start to like whatever, I would do something nasty to where they wouldn't like me anymore, being the heel that I am. But I knew they were going to fire me. So I'm going to eat this up. There's a little tiny chant of Ariel going on. And I just was feeling, because I was like, don't put asses in seats. I'm a heel and shouldn't be get a chance right now. That's what's up. Like Ozzy's band members are right there watching this. That's what's up. And then I remember when Kevin won and I went and I bowed, I almost started crying because I knew that was it. 2 days later, they were like, creative has nothing for you. And I was like, what? And I laughed. The vice principal, Johnny Yates, goes, what are you laughing at? And I said, I know what this is all about. He goes, but keep in touch with us. You never know. We have people come back. Maybe you just need to go do your thing for a little bit. And I said, I'm good. I was like, if this is how you guys run your business, like, I'm good. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And I hung up. And so when I talked to you about it back in the day, I was still in the energy of, even though Dave and I squashed our heat, that he was the reason. But he wasn't the reason. I was the reason, because before him, I told off Shawn Michaels and I told off Randy Orton.
Damn.
So Batista was the last nail in my coffin. They're probably like, this girl, she thinks she could talk to Shawn Michaels that way. She thinks she could talk to Randy Orton that way. And now the Batista thing, she's gone. That's what it was. And you know what I say? Shawn Michaels, you think you could treat me that way? Randy Orton, you think you could treat me that way? Batista, you think you could treat me that way? Because I wouldn't have gone off if they weren't treating me a certain way. So that's when I realized I was the WWE. I was the problem. I know that. I take that belt. I'll take that championship. Miss Traviesa USA. I will take it because I was the problem. And that's why it's like I wasn't meant to be there anymore. I was meant to be there for the experiences that it brought me and it continues to bring me. And I was gifted. Like, I'm just gonna go and say I love the Lord, so that's where my heart's at. So
Nice.
even in my darkest times, that's always what saved me. The Lord blessed me with that experience, the whole wrestling experience,
Yeah.
and then it blessed me to be a freaking vampire. That's the stamp of approval that He
Yeah.
let me be the vampire. That's the deal.
That's awesome.
That's
You know what we
dope.
should do? We should play. Speaking of that, we should play that. A couple of clips of you and Kevin Thorne. I want people
Yeah.
to see you coming down to the ring and how awesome it was. So I'm gonna put you guys in the waiting area, and I'll be right back. I'm gonna go play this. 1 second. LTM. Woo-woo. All right. We're gonna go share screen. Yes. Right there.
Oh, well, Taz, I know nothing about poker, but I am very much loving my job here next week. I wonder if anyone's going to have a straight. Here we go.
This contest is set for one fall. Approaching the ring first, weighing 270 pounds, Kevin Thorne.
How about this for a segue? How about straight out crazy Kevin Thorne and Ariel, these two followers of vampirism who have this very strange and somewhat erotic relationship.
Imagine Ariel playing extreme strip poker next week. Could you imagine that? Imagine you beat her, and next thing you know, you beat her like with a full house or a raw flush, and she does the upside down crazy bat chick thing and then bites like your shin bone off or something. That would hurt.
Be tough being a dealer in that game.
Yeah, sure would. Not as tough as those ropes. But anyway, Kevin Thorne will be in action here. Kevin Thorne, very impressive.
Riddle me this, 1984. You lose weight, Don? No, I'm a fat bastard right now. So thank you, though, for the thought. I appreciate it. Maybe the TV is actually making me look skinny, but I ain't skinny.
I do not know what the fuck that was at the end. I am not trying to promote stupid ass motherfucking idiots that have orange fathers. I am sorry, but this is not meant to be. Anywho, fuck that shit. I'm like, what the fuck was that? I was trying to play that anyway. Well, anyway, you get to see how amazing Ariel was there with that hanging upside down. That was hot AF.
I'm saying that was cool as fuck.
That's what I'm talking about.
I did my job then. It's crazy because I did a version of that when I was valeting me and Beth Phoenix at OVW, which is one of the wrestling schools WWE had at the time. We were managing Aaron the Idol Stevens, who ended up being Damian Sandow. So we were a group, and I came up with us opening the rings with like a modified version of that. It was pretty much that without doing the crossing over. And the reason why I came up with that is because the last BS job that I had before I got signed was I was a cocktail waitress and bartender at Spearmint Rhino. And one of the things I used to have to do was clean the stage and the poles in between.
Oh, God,
and so what I would do is I always wanted the opening shift that went into happy hour, like an hour into happy hour, because what I would do was I would just clean the club. I'd busy myself cleaning. No one would really come in except some of the regulars. And I knew I'd make my money at that happy hour with tips, that first hour happy hour. So I would just BS. And so the DJ that would be working with me, he knew I was trying to be this wrestler, like the whole 9 yards. So when no one was at the club, I'd walk down the ramp and he'd play different, like Triple H's music, and I'd put water and then I'd spit it out. And one of the regulars was a wrestling fan, so we would do entrances when nobody was there. And so we would do that. But what we would do when I had to clean, when there was people there for tips, what I would do is the DJ would say, now, gentlemen, something happens to our waitress, Shelly, when Rob Zombie plays. And he'd play a Rob Zombie song, and I'd act like I got like under a spell. And then I would clean it creatively. I would just be cleaning, going to the music. I'd climb up the pole and spray it and then come down with like the thing. And that's how I make
awesome.
tips. Extra tips. So when I came up with this entrance with me and Beth, I kind of looked at the ring kind of like the stripper pole, and like how the girls would come down, because I would swing her down because, I had to clean it. So I'd swing down with the rag. But I always thought it was so cool when those girls, so strong, would just be upside down and just go.
Oh, yeah.
And I always thought it was really cool. So I thought, I told Beth, I said, what if we did? And I told her the story. I was like, what if we did something like that? So that's how we did it. And then when I became Ariel, I told Beth and Aaron, I was like, do you guys mind if I, whatever. And then Beth was like, dude, you came up with it. Do it. Like, it's yours. Because that's what you do in the old school. You just don't say go to business for yourself. When you work with people that help you elevate, you ask questions like that. Do you mind? Anyway.
Right.
So that was the beginning of me being known for my entrance, and they would let us have that time for that entrance. And dude. And it's funny because WWE goes back and forth from like PG to PG-13 with their content. And so I was in the era of PG-13, but then like towards the end of it, I remember Stephanie McMahon came into the girls' locker room. We had this meeting, and she was just like, we got to cover up more so your butt cheeks can't be hanging out. She's like Ariel, every single time her ass is hanging out. And then she's like, or her boob looks like it's going to fall out. And by the way, I always knew that. And so what I would do is I would take myself in to where it looked like I was going to have a wardrobe malfunction, but I would tape it so it never would happen, because I'm not dumb. I knew if the ratings would go up, if dudes were like, is she going to have a nip slip? Is she going to have a nip slip? So I would do it just what it looks like, but that tape was real good. So it's a little trick out there if you're on TV and you're a female wrestler. So
that'll work for anybody.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So she would use me as an example, and it's funny because one of the coolest compliments I've gotten while I was in WWE was before she was done with the meeting, she was like, you know what? I just want to say for the record, I wasn't picking on Ariel. I just know that she can take it. And that's how I took it. Like when she was like, her ass is always out. I was like, yeah, my ass is always out. I was thinking she's right. She's not wrong. But she's like, her boobs always look like it's falling. Yeah, I do it on purpose. She's not wrong. So like, what is there to get mad at or embarrassed? It's the truth. And so it's funny because some people would were trying to spin it like, Stephanie didn't like me because she didn't like Heyman, and I was a Heyman girl. So I was just like, you know what? If she didn't like me, she didn't have to say that. Like she could have just. She already saw it didn't bother me, so it wasn't a big deal. But she went out of her way to let these girls know in case there's any gossip. Look, I'm not picking on her. She could take it, and she was right. So I always like to throw that little story out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's the truth.
That outfit, though, that's what reminded me. I was like, oh, those shorts. I remember those were one of the ones I was like referring to.
I always love the cape and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the thing. My character was a whole lot of me with 3 other ingredients. Lily Munster.
Nice.
Baby Firefly from House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects.
Oh, hell yeah.
And Drusilla from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV.
Yes! We were just talking about Drusilla earlier. That's the name. That's the chick I was trying to remember. I said, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. The creepy weirdo bitch who would go, who talk all You know, like
Come
all weird.
on, Spike.
Yeah.
Hello, Ariel.
Nuts.
Kevin Thorne. Like, and that was what I did.
She was a fucking twacked
Love it.
woman. I swear. I love her. Drusilla
So,
was
like,
a great character.
every time I did my talking slow and everything, and it worked out for me because to draw from that inspiration. Because when I was like in high school watching that series when it was new, her and Spike, I was so drawn to. Like,
Oh my
Angel-
God, Spike was my
Angel,
favorite. He's
Okay,
meh.
go run over there. You and Buffy
Yeah,
are too
oh,
complicated.
Feelings.
Go.
I'm torn. Oh my God, my feelings. Spike was.
Spike's
I'm
He
so,
had feelings
yeah.
too.
Spike was my favorite. Spike was hot as fuck. I'm sorry. Thank you, James Marsder. I fucking love you. You're the fucking shit. And someday I would love to interview you. So if you're watching this right now, I know you're not, but still, if you are,
Throw
holy
it out
fuck.
there.
I'm sorry. He was always my favorite. Always my favorite.
Well, here's the thing. You say, okay, but here's the thing. Drusilla felt a lot, and so did
No, she
Spike.
did. Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, no,
but it's
totally.
the way they didn't
He loved
bitch
fiercely.
out. They didn't
I mean,
bitch
look how the
out.
show
like Angel.
ended. He gave his life to save the world. I mean, think about that. Holy shit. I cried. I cried and cried and cried and cried when that moment happened. I've cried like a bitch. I'm just saying, I'm unapologetic. I will admit it right now. When I saw the last episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer at the end of season 7, I cried like a bitch. Sorry. I'm sorry. Spike, he gave himself to save the world. Would Angel have done that? I don't think so. I'm sorry. I just don't think he would have. I just don't think
He's all over the place. You know, he's into.
I'm jealous.
Toxic
I'm
relationships.
Angel. I'm Angelus. I'm Angel. I like the better as Angelus. At least then, and I'm sorry.
But yeah, so like Drusilla, it was really awesome to pull from her because I was already organically whatever. But oh my goodness, it was really hard to talk with those fangs in my mouth. So I'm like, how am I going to try to control this lisp? And the only way is to talk slowly. And so I was like, perfect, Drusilla, like talk slow. And it's like, it was so hard. Sometimes I couldn't avoid it. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be this like sexy vamp, and I'm over here lisping away with my fangs.
Oh, it's funny.
That's awesome. So tell us more about your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a podcast. It's called Vampire Radio. It's been quite the journey. I started podcasting in 2009. I've had so many different podcasts. I've always been into broadcasting. When I was a little girl, I'd listen to talk radio, and I would record the talk radio. But I had that kind of like boombox where if you hit record, you can record what you're saying. So I would pretend like I was talking with them when they would like pause. So when they're talking like this, during that part, when they're about to say something else, I would interact. So I would pretend I was on the radio. Then I was in wrestling, the little groupies that like are groupies in wrestling, they call them ring rats or rats for short. I'm a broadcast rat through and through.
Oh, yeah.
I would chase after these guys that like were DJs, dated some of them, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, damn. Nice.
But now that I'm older, I realize why. It's because they were doing what I was attracted to wanting to create myself. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like I was confusing having like being inspired by somebody with attraction to them. And so that's why I became a broadcast rat, like a creepy, creepy girl. And like, using my looks to get me there, being like, oh, I'm this pinup model and da-da-da-da-da. And they like, we'd meet up. And it's like, I'm like, oh my God, I've been listening to you for years, like a broadcast rat. Let me tell you. So that's how deep it goes. But that's how deep my love, because going back to radio and television and music was what saved me through everything. So I started doing the podcasting, and what's really interesting is at the time I was still doing independent wrestling, And people used to get so mad because there's a term in wrestling called kayfabe. And it's a carny word that actually old school carny people used to use in the carnival. But it's kind of like kayfabe is like a language. There's one meaning to it where only the carnies know it. And then in this case, wrestling carny. And then there's kayfabe where it's like if someone's coming by, you go kayfabe. So it's like giving like, watch out, the secret word. And then you could be like, hey, man, why are you kayfabing me? It's like, hey, why are you ignoring me? So that's the whole thing with kayfabe. And when I would have trying to like get the interviews and stuff back then, before podcasts what they are today, people were like, man, Shelly's breaking kayfabe over here with her little microphone and with her video. Vlogging wasn't the word. They was just like, oh, with her video and da-da-da. But I was always into documenting and telling that story. I thought it was really cool that like I had access to showing the world at that time what it's like being on the road. And like, you know, it was whatever. But the same people that hated on me and tried to get me in trouble, oh, Shelly with her microphone in here, she's breaking kayfabe. Those are the same mother effers that have the podcast now. And then because they did more in wrestling and were more famous than I ever was, they're the ones with the numbers and the ones that are making all the money. And I'm over here like, please listen to my work. I worked really hard for so many years. And these assholes that were trying to get me in trouble are over there with their little bullshit stuff. I'm just like, God.
We understand the you know, the issue because we're in the same boat. You know what I mean? I've been doing podcasts. I've been doing radio since 2012. You know what I mean? So and I used to get so pissed off when people would call my show a podcast, because I went to radio broadcasting school and I learned TV production at Pasadena Media, and I went to school at American Radio Network. So I actually went to broadcasting schools for television and radio. So I did the work. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I just one day decided I'm going to have a podcast. No, like, I did the work. And I was the same thing as Shelly. I was obsessed with the radio and TV and movies. And I want to make my own movies. I want to make my own TV shows. And we're going to hire Shelly to be in them. And you know what I mean? So I think that'll be fun. I will come out to California and we'll film. Would you be in a movie? I want to do a vampire movie, and I also want to do a zombie movie. And would you be interested in those projects?
Yeah, you aren't in California?
Unfortunately, we're in Maine right now, but
I'm sorry to hear about that.
Me too. I'm right there with you. I don't want to be here any more than
I assumed you were still in California.
No, the last little over 2 years we've been here. I don't like it, and I want to come home.
None of us like there. None of us like there.
I know. We've been talking on the air on the last few weeks about doing a GoFundMe campaign for me and the Muse to come back to LA. And when the time is right, concerts. We do concert promoting and bookings. We do so many things. I do artist management. So if you ever need management, I'm here for you always.
Okay.
I have so many avenues, and then we're with Sony Music Entertainment. So, you know what I mean? I'm hoping like we can get these numbers up more just because of the affiliations we have. Plus we're on iHeartRadio. We're on like all the stuff. So it's like you try to build those numbers and share and share and share. Oh, yes. And James Balsamo. I have somebody I could hook you up with, actually, who's in Los Angeles, who does movies right now. So if you want, I can shoot you his information. He's always hiring, and he's always hiring big celebrities. He's always got, he's got smaller.
I don't know what you do with me because I'm an F at best.
No, you're a celebrity. Shut the hell up. I mean,
I take my F.
You are a celebrity. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you've done a lot of things that other people have never done. People dream of being you, is the point. Like even
And I
even
understand that.
even if you're not on whatever fucking Dave Batista level, what the fuck ever, who cares? We don't really give a fuck about that because we love you for you because you're a real person. You're
Yes.
like, you know what I mean? You're like
I think this is
a
why I
normal
say it.
fucking
It's half comedy, but it's true. But I say that because there's nothing wrong with being an F-lister because you're still
Yes.
doing stuff. And what breaks my heart,
Important.
especially in the world of wrestling, everyone typically is trying to be in WWE. And then when they don't get it, I've seen some people who are no longer with us because they got so depressed. And it's like, the thing is like, you got to be realistic. There's literally only so many spots in WWE. It's not personal. There's literally, it's math. Only so many spots. And then you got the main dudes that are on top that they're not moving anywhere. And then you got the ones that are getting groomed to take those spots when they're too old. And it's like nowadays with like health and people being more health conscious, some of these dudes that are like should have hung up their boots a long time ago are still going hard and looking good. So it's like they're staying there. There's only so many spots. It has nothing to do with you're not good enough. It has nothing to do, and the same thing in Hollywood. Like in both worlds, to be at the top, there's a hefty price to pay. There's a lot that goes into it. So I wear my F proud because I've done cool things. I've had cool experiences. Like I've created cool experiences for people. Like, and it just makes me sad that people in the entertainment business, again, specifically wrestlers, just feel their worth is based on just being that A-lister. And there's just not everyone's going to be that.
No.
It's just not, it's impossible for everyone to be an A+ entertainer, celebrity, influencer, whatever. Like it's literally impossible for everyone to. There's a ranking. That's just it.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
Very true. You got to do.
That's true.
Look, I think it's good to be like a supporting actor because supporting actors tend to get more work. Like they get a lot of work. Like I know people in the industry who constantly get fucking work, constantly working. And I mean, just Al Burke alone, we know from WWF, he was Mr. Outrageous back in the day. And he's been in shitloads of movies and music videos and TV shows and so many things. I think he said he's been in over 700 music videos. He was on The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler, like a bit part. He played the big biker dude on the airplane that was like, you better not hurt Billy Idol. Yeah, exactly. See, so he is very well known, but
like that.
Who he was, but they do know who he is. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's that side actor and ancillary character that's in tons of fucking shit. I mean, he was in the Bellyache video for Billie Eilish. He's been in he was in the fucking the Eminem music video. He been in
Black Veil Brides.
He was just in the Black Veil Brides music video that they just put out. Oh my god. Yeah. It's like that whole what's that fucking goddamn it? What's the music? I can't think. Why can't I think? Goddamn Johnny Depp. Huh?
Oh
no, when he did the Sweeney Todd. There we go.
Yeah.
Like that Sweeney Todd fucking type of a thing where you're slitting their throats and they're getting shot, down through a chute. Like that, it was just really creepy and like awesome. But he played a cop, but it was like an English Bobby.
But that's the thing is like, to your point is there's opportunities and people get so distracted because I don't mean to be mean, but they don't in their ego want to accept that that's just not meant. And it's okay that that's not meant, and I don't know. Like, I'm one of those people. Like, I've done so many crazy, fun, interesting, weird gigs. And that, for me, that's part of what I get out of it, is that I do get to have all these different experiences. But then you have some people that they only want to be that A-list person. And then when they don't get it, they almost don't know how to deal with it, being obsessed with being that, when it's like, there's only so many spots.
No, very true. Very true.
It's mad.
So are you looking to do more in like the movie world, TV
Well, right
movies?
now, I have a project I'm working on. I don't want to say too much yet because,
Gotcha.
you know, old show business.
Yeah.
But it's in the horror genre.
Ooh.
So I'm excited about that. And
Awesome.
if everything goes according to plan, which it seems to be going right now, I just thought long and hard about this opportunity before accepting it.
Okay.
And I was just like, you know what? This is exactly what I need. This is so perfect for me.
Nice.
Like, this is going to be the thing that I'm going to focus on so that I'm in line with my purpose and to be a better version of myself. Working on this project and being a part of it is going to help me get there. And I'm really excited.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. So I guess we're going to have you come back when
You're going to have me come back.
when you go to actually launch this wonderful project. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm really excited. There's a lot of, because here's what happened. I'll give you the backstory of what the holdup is. There's a holdup in production because the people I'm going to be working with, they've been shooting at the same studio for like 20 something years, you know?
Okay.
And from what the fella told me was, you know, there was a meeting at the station and they were trying to do things without going through the proper steps. And so he was like raising questions about it. And they pretty much told him just to sit down, shut up. And he got upset about it and was like, no, this isn't right. Like, we're supposed to do these protocols. And then it escalated. And then that was on a Tuesday night. Now that Saturday that was coming up was when we were officially going to have our first day of shooting. Okay. And he called me that Wednesday, so the next day after he had his incident, and he told me what happened. And he pretty much sat there and tried to convince me to stick with them because now they had to find a new studio because he got a letter from them saying that they canceled our shoot and good luck with everything, which was really sad to hear because they've been with this station for 20 something years. Okay. So I was like, wow, but we just talked about this whole Batista thing and all that. So little did these people know, I get it. And so it allowed me to see the type of people, the group I'm going to be working with, which I thought was really cool. And I was like, dude, I'm over here rehearsing for the shoot. Like, there's no way I'm not going to do it. So we changed the approach. I've been filming some stuff here in my back cave with my green screen so they can get me. They're just going to have their stuff on YouTube till they get the studio. Right. So it's happening, but the actual like reveal hasn't happened of this character I am. And it's so cool because they let me be in total control of the character. So I came up with the character. I came up with the outfit. Oh, wow. It's awesome. Oh, yeah.
Wow, that sounds badass.
Oh, yeah.
So stay tuned.
So I know you've done some other things like, okay, so you appeared in the beginning of the Motley Crue music video for Saints of Los Angeles.
I sure did.
Was that kind of a crazy experience?
Well, yeah. So at the time I was working for TNA. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying this to knock TNA. This was just my reality. This is fact. This is just facts. When I got my contract for TNA, it was shortly after my 30-day no compete clause ended with WWE. Okay. And because what a lot of people don't realize are wrestlers are independent contractors. They're not employees of WWE. They're contractors.
Oh, damn.
Speaking with TNA. Okay. So that's why there's no union or benefits and things like that, because we're considered independent contractors.
Holy shit! Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I got signed, they had in my contract that I was going to get paid $300 a show. When I got signed with WWE to go to their school, I was making $500 a week. So I'm like, this doesn't add up, because if I'm only doing 2 shows a week, that's $600. I live in LA. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
that's not enough.
Yeah.
So I was literally on TV looking like a superstar, but my life sucked. I was always hiding from my landlord, making up excuses, being a little ghetto ass, like the whole thing.
Sad.
But it's fine.
That
Like,
is
I was
sad.
supposed to go through. That's my 20s. That's growing and being out
Yeah.
there and like doing it. Like,
Yeah.
I made it work, you know.
Yeah.
And so my point is, TNA was paying me not that much. And then when it started to get kind of ridiculous, to where I was like, I'm really struggling. I need something to happen here. So that's when I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like reactivate my LA casting. I just need to get gigs on my days off.
Yes.
Because my character on WWE, of course, was the vampire. But when I was in TNA, I was a chola, Mexican gangster, Salinas.
Right.
So, and talking about my ghetto West family, they're a bunch of gang members. So it was natural that I was Salinas. And a real quick side story. When I was Ariel, I was working out at the gym on my day off. And I was watching TNA. And the group that I joined, LAX, they were on there. And I remember when I'd see them, I'd be like, you know what? If something were ever to happen, I could see myself with them. This is how I do my entrance. This is what I'd wear. So I was literally not knowing what was going to happen in my future, preparing for Salinas. So there I was, like, whatever. So I did the LA casting thing. I submitted. And I remember I was so broke. I was putting sad gas in my car. Like, I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then that's when I got a call that I was going to be in this Motley Crue video. And I was like, holy crap. Because I've always had this like weird connection with Tommy Lee. And so I was like, this is crazy. And long story short, I did the shoot, and it's funny because Vince Neil and Nikki Sixx came up to me and they're like, we heard you're a wrestler. And I'm like, yeah. And they were like, okay, so we wanted you to do this scene with Tommy where you slap him, but like really slap him. It's okay. I was like, oh, for sure. Because in my world, in normal world, it's like, you don't do that. I'm not going to slap him. But in my world, it's like, oh, okay, he knows. Okay. So I go and I slapped him so hard. And I just remember they were just like, and that was it. After that Motley Crue, they were like, this girl's awesome, whatever. And so it was a cool shoot and everything. I won't say who, but a Motley Crue member did kidnap me for about a week. And that was, I consented. But I say kidnap me in the sense of, here I am at the music shoot, at the music video shoot, and now all of a sudden I'm in this mansion for like a week. It was the weirdest thing. You know, it was the weirdest thing. We both were single, so it was nothing shady. And I remember I told him, I was like, you don't have a girlfriend. Oh, here's the thing. He had his assistant come up to me at the shoot and said, hey, do you have a boyfriend? And I was like, no. And then he was like, okay, good. So-and-so wants to meet you. So I thought that was pretty cool that he did check, like, to see, because you hear about rock stars and things. So, like, normally they don't care. And so I was like, wait a minute, do you have somebody? Because, like, you're famous. I know your track record. So, like, do you? I don't want trouble. And the reason why I said I didn't want trouble is because when I was in TNA, there was this guy who was very famous in the 80s that had a hair metal band, and he was on my flight. Long story short, I joined the Mile High Club with him.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
And then we agreed that we're going to keep seeing each other. And he lived, like we flew out of LAX. He lived way far out of LA at the time. And so I'm thinking, I got myself a new boyfriend because you guys, I'm a stage 5 clinger. If I'm like, oh, you're my boyfriend now, right? You're my boyfriend now, right? I'm that girl. I'm that girl. No, he's going to be my boyfriend. We slept together. He's going to be my boyfriend. So
Right.
he's going to be my boyfriend.
Yep.
Little
Fingers
80s
open
Shelly.
there. No worries.
Yep.
That's me always.
Yep.
I tell people, I'm like, look, you don't want to hook up with me. I'm a stage 5 clinger. I will want you to be my boyfriend. And there's been guys that have been like, thank you for telling me because I don't want a girlfriend. So I used to be on a bowling team and I was at my bowling game and I get this call from this rock star's phone. And I'm like, hey, because we're like planned to meet up. It's a chick. And she was like, who is this? And I'm like, this is Shelly. Who's this? She called me. And she was like, this is so-and-so's girl. We've been together for all this time and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, I'm sorry. I asked. I did not. And she was like, are you the one from the airplane? And I was like, oh, yes.
Bitch. I asked him if he was single.
I
He
did.
said
Yeah.
yes.
They
That's
said
not
yes.
my fault that the skeezy ass motherfucker lied. Okay.
Yep.
And so I told her, I said, look, to prove to you, you will never see my caller ID ever call his phone. And I never did. And it's sad because he died. And I was just like,
shit.
I was like, dang, that's weird. Because I have this like weird story with this dude. And when he died, it was like not that long ago, but it was a little bit ago. I was just like, damn, that's weird. But anyway, so that's my story.
Nice. Too funny. Crazy.
Hopefully that story will get you some extra views.
Yeah, right.
Hell to the yes.
That's my gift to you.
We like stories.
Yep.
So I loved how you were on that TV show where it was the next Elvira?
Oh my God. See how life is to me? I got to meet Elvira. And not
Me
only
too.
that, I got to be on her show.
her. I interviewed her.
Cool.
Hell yeah. That's why I thought that was awesome. When I saw you, I was like, fuck yeah.
Well, that was like perfect timing because I had just gotten fired from WWE. I was living in Kentucky still, and I saw they were doing this thing called the Search for the Next Elvira. So I was like, oh, I have to, maybe I can get some pool. I just was on WWE. I was this vampire. So they accepted me to come to their open cattle call thing. I was on the Queen Mary. And at that time, like I said, I was living in Kentucky. And so they flew me out. And so I was able to come out here, visit my family and everything like that. And so it was interesting because it was such a fun show to do. Meeting Elvira was really cool. A lot of people assume because of what I'm into that I'm like a super fanatic for Elvira. Now, I love Elvira, don't get me wrong, but I am team Lily Munster, Yvonne DiCarlo, through and through. Like, that's the misconception. But I did, like, when I being a kid back in the day, I remember watching Elvira, and I thought that was just so cool how she had her whole thing, and like with the movies and late at night and the horror hosting, or it wasn't always horror, sometimes thriller, whatever. So it was really, really cool. And to this day, because they had Elvira be one of the judges, and then two of the other judges were two what they call man-viras, and they're two fellas that they made their living off of being a drag Elvira. So to this day, I am still amigos with one of those man-viras. I love him so much. And some of my Elvira sisters I'm still friends with. This is what I heard from multiple people, but I've never had the balls to ask the man-vira friend I have. I should ask him. I heard that they felt we all got along too well because it was a reality show. So they needed to stir up some drama. So they eliminated certain people, not necessarily because they should have been eliminated, but because we weren't giving them drama because we all liked each other. We all liked each other so much. And for me, it was a full circle because Bridget Marquardt, who used to be on Girls Next Door, known for being Hugh Hefner's girlfriend, she was in the competition. And
Okay.
I, being a model, especially when I was embracing pinup modeling in the early 2000s, there was a group of girls that we always shot with the same people. So we were like in the same era. And those people were me, and it was like I was the wrestler girl that wanted to be a wrestler. Kat Von D, she wanted to be a famous tattoo artist. Dita Von T, she wanted to be the pinup queen.
Hell yeah.
Holly Madison, she wanted to be the queen of Playboy, and Bridget Marquardt, who was like the hostess with the mostest and wanted to be a Playboy playmate. And so it's crazy that we all did exactly what we were trying to back then when we were nobodies and just trying. And it was so hard back then. So I think it was so cool that at the Elvira thing, there was freaking Bridget. And I'm just like, here we go. That full circle is just so cool. It was awesome. And I knew in my gut when I got eliminated, I was going to get eliminated. So I was like, dude, I want to say something that's like rememberable. And they told us, if you get eliminated, she's going to pull this lever down and they're going to CGI you like you just got burnt. So just scream. That's what you're supposed to do, is scream. Like, I'm burning.
Oh,
so I look at Elvira dead in her eyes and I go, I'll see you in hell, Elvira.
Yeah.
In the whole room,
I love
this feeling. And she went, and then I walked off, and then they ushered me into like the confessional room.
Yeah.
And they were like, so you don't like Elvira any much, huh? Because they were trying to say that my acting wasn't good, and that's why I was getting eliminated. And I said, no, you idiots. That's called acting. But you said I couldn't do good. That's what I did out there. And of course they didn't use that part, but it's fine. So that was like really cool. And so it's funny because when I went to TNA, there were some wrestlers that would like, in a fun way, poke at me and be like, I'll see you in hell, Elvira. And I was like, and I'll see you there too. So yeah, that was my little, I had to, and then when I got accepted to being the Unlucky 13, I had to say something too. And I was like, I promised myself I wouldn't cry. And then she just got a kick out of me, Elvira did. So that was really cool because she's Elvira, you know, and I'm Shelly, and we should have been able to meet and interact.
She was one of the sweetest people I've ever interviewed or ever met. Like, she was always my idol growing up in the 80s. Like, she, you know, coming from the background that I did, you know, abuse and whatever, you know what I mean? I had to raise myself from the time I was 5 and raise siblings and nieces and whatnot, you know what I mean? So, like, when you're living that life and your whole dream, everything's been squashed, and you feel like you're nothing, and then you see somebody like her on TV, you know what I mean? Like, I was always that creepy weirdo girl who always was reading books like Stephen King and watching horror movies and sci-fi and thrillers and fantasy and all that crazy shit, you know? And yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was always that nerd. I don't know where he went. I was always that nerd, you know what I mean? So, like, when I see somebody like Elvira, that's like, you know, she, like, empowering to females. Like, female empowerment, like, strong and confident, and I can do anything. And she just walked right up to people and was like, you know, like, you know, I just always loved that. She was just, and then the car and the fucking just, oh, dude, and the titty tassels at the end with the
love it.
Dude, epic, fucking epic. Like, she is my goddess, like, and always will be. And I know what you mean about Lily Munster. Yvonne DiCarlo is fucking amazing too. It's just, I've always been an Elvira girl, like, through and through.
Both. And like Elvira, to me, it's like she embodied something that gave me permission to be me. Because I bust balls. I've always been that way since I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have the boobs. You know what I mean? Like, I wear what I want. I grew up in California, so like I'm sarcastic and like how she is, like the way she talks, like I literally I don't it's not an act when I'm like, well duh. Like that's just how I talk.
Yeah, right. Yes.
And even though that was like her character as a girl in California, it was like, yeah, we talk like that, some of us. Like, and for me, my family being the ghetto asses they were, because I wasn't trying to be a ghetto ass and like be a for real like be a gang member and things like that. It was always like, oh, watch, Shelly's gonna marry a white guy. Oh, Shelly's so white, and da 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 da. And it's like, white? Like, why are you more Mexican than me? When like, just because I like other things, you know? So Elvira was one of those that she allowed me to be like, see, somebody that like that's how I feel and that's how I connect. And like whatever, especially with the spookiness and all that. So it's like Elvira, like I said, like I'm not downplaying her. She had a huge impact on my life.
Yeah.
But what I appreciated the most is I felt she gave me permission to be me.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing about it. She's that amazing. She just makes you feel confident about yourself. And she's just such a nice person that she like kind of gives that vibe off, you know, like you just feel it. Like she's just a genuine person. And I don't know, after I was a teenager, I was like, fuck this. I'm going to be like Elvira. I'm going to say how I feel, and I'm going to, you know, be that confident person, and fuck you if you don't like me, and whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Because I don't care.
It's one of those things where, you know, even though my mouth has always gotten me in trouble for saying whatever.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is I have this reputation, right? Like, especially because of with wrestling and telling these people off. I have this reputation like, oh, Shelly doesn't care. She's too outspoken. She says what's on her mind. But what they don't realize is I'm that way because growing up when I had no voice and was being quiet and trying to go with the program and shutting up, that got me nowhere except panic attacks, depression, all these things. So it's like, well, if I'm going to either way, a bad outcome's going to come out. I'd rather bad outcome be I said the truth or how I felt. Yeah. And so when I would get into these situations where I would have to confront somebody or call someone out, dude, I'm so nervous before I do it. Like throwing up. I get like sometimes I get diarrhea immediately. Like, nervous diarrhea is what I call it. It's not fun. I'm not that bitch to be like, oh yeah, let's go talk some shit. I'm not her. I'm like, God, now I gotta go talk some shit. That's I hear you. Now I have to go talk shit and I don't want to, but I have to. And that's a big difference. And so there was a lot of anxiety even in that. But now, because of different life events that have happened in the last few years, I'm too tired. You know what? People watch out because now I'm too tired to even be worried. It's just I gotta say what I gotta say, and I'm just gonna say it. And like if you don't like it or if I rub you wrong, I'm sorry because it's not mean spirited. And that's the key. If it's not mean spirited, I'm not gonna feel bad. And that was quite the journey because people have been trying to shut me up my entire life, including, you know how heartbreaking it was. Like I've been with the same guy for 8 years, and he works a lot. I call him Skynet. He works for Skynet. So he works with like the government, unfortunately, and NASA a lot, right? So I told him, I was like, picture this. Picture they had proof the earth was flat. Like it was proof. And they let's just say that. And I was like, okay. Yeah. I go, everything that you went to school for and your job that you've been at forever, that's a lie. That's how I felt. When with wrestling, it came down to politics. And if you're going to shut up and do what you're told, especially if you're a woman, because we're not going to have you here if that's the case. If I was a man fighting with Batista, a top guy fighting with Batista, they would have just let us fist fight because Batista has fist fought Booker T backstage when they had a problem. So if I was a man, they would have let us handle it. And so it's like, that realization of the wrestling world was so
Mhm.
hard for me, because it's like telling someone like my man everything you've worked for, and you find out it's a
Yeah.
lie. Like that handshaking.
Right.
Why is it such a like thing when you're not respecting me? So why would I want to shake your hand? You know
Yeah.
what you do? You have office etiquette. Good to see everyone.
Yeah.
I'm here. Office etiquette. You
Yeah.
want to be
Civil.
like, get
Yeah.
the F out of here. Especially when
Civility.
you're showing me
Yeah.
you're picking and choosing what the
Mhm.
fraternity rules are here. No, either
Yeah.
we're fraternity rules or we're not.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Totally. Hell yeah. I know what you're saying though with the non-confrontational type stuff. I was always like that, so I always dread those conversations. And to this day, if I'm like somebody's up in my face, like I get like queasy and my stomach knots up and
Yep.
like, you know what I mean? Like I can't stay. I hate that. I hate that feeling. So I'm
Sometimes
right there.
what happens to me afterwards is like I can get it together to like have it, so it seems like I'm that bitch. But then
Yeah.
once it's over, I don't know why, but I get the chills, and I'll just like
Yes.
like it's
I'll
like
even
this
walk
like
away and cry. Like,
I don't, and I'm so mad. And it's just like, and I think what
Yeah.
it is because it took me so much to stay, I guess, like brave in that moment to say whatever
Yeah.
I needed to say and dig so deep when really I don't want to say anything to
Yeah.
make it easier. But sometimes that makes things worse. And
Right.
so it's just so crazy. But now, like I said, with the life events that I've had in my private life, I'm just like, I'm too tired.
Yeah.
So sorry, not sorry, people. I'm too tired for your BS. If you thought I was blunt before, watch out. Stay away from me. Like, there's this song. Do you know that? I know you probably know Lee Scratch Perry, right?
Yeah.
The musician. So he has this song, and it's like he starts it off. He goes, I am in an upsetting mood.
Sorry.
I am the upsetter. Run. And that's how I feel. It's like, dude, I am in an upsetting mood. I'm the upsetter. Run. Run now, because I'm about to go off. So that's the deal now.
I'm right there with you. We understand, don't we, Amy?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Well, it's no
Shyler's-
coincidence we're having this conversation. So it's
Yes.
like confirmation for all of us that we got to stay that way, because it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard.
Yes. I have goddamn worked hard for my well, you know, I've always been sarcastic.
And always be
Yes.
sarcastic.
Yes, it's the family I grew up in, and we always like I don't want to say bashed on each other, but like I always tell people, if I'm not fucking with you, it means I don't like you. And if I don't like you, I don't even try to cover it up. I'm very like, I'll be civil with you.
Exactly.
I'll be polite because I have to be, but don't get it twisted, because if we were outside of work or we were outside of whatever, I wouldn't fucking talk to you. I wouldn't have nothing to do with you. And it's only because we're neighbors or we work together or whatever, and I have no choice. I'll be civil with you as long as you're civil with me. As long as we show each other mutual respect, we're good to go. The second you disrespect me, all bets are off.
1000%.
So it's not going to go well for you. And I'm too old now to care about people's bullshit.
So am I.
Or for drama. I don't have time for drama. I'm too old for drama. I'm too old for bullshit. I don't have time. I just like, I cut to the chase. Here it is. This is how it is. If you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. There's the door. Don't let the doorknob hit you on the ass on the way out. Have a nice life. Have a nice
1000%. You know, I don't want to say wasted. I've spent a lot of time in my life caring too much. AKA, story about Batista and that other guy sticking my nose, because I thought I was helping. When at the end of the day, both those girls still stayed with those guys.
Yeah.
So who was I helping? It was none of my business.
No.
But
Yeah.
that was me showing who I am, and I didn't belong
Yeah.
there anymore. And I
Yeah.
feel like when you're that kind of a person, even though it seems like injustices happen, missed opportunities,
Yeah.
you really didn't belong there, because when it comes down to it, that's not the kind of environment that nurtures that kind of behavior.
No,
Which
it's not
at the end of the
healthy.
day comes down to, oh, you don't want good communication? Okay, well, I don't want to be here then, because I need good communication. And most people can't do that. And so that's where
Right.
they get scared. And it's like, oh, they said this or whatever. And it's like, so, like, how are you going to know unless you say something, you know?
Right.
Right.
Crazy. Damn. Holy shit, it's like 2 fucking hours. Man, we've just had so much fun with you tonight. Damn, just like talk, listen to your awesome stories. I think she's one of our best guests yet. What do you think, Amy?
Oh yes, I think so for sure. I feel like right now I want to go hang out with you.
That's
We
what
are
I'm
hanging
saying.
out.
That's what I'm saying. She's the cool one, you know, that you want to hang out with. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Well, I
Hell
appreciate
yeah.
that. You know, it's crazy you guys should
Oh,
say
yeah.
that. Here's a little last story to leave you guys with. When I first started, as I refer to the fake ECW, because it's not the real ECW. When I started the fake ECW, I remember, because of my home life growing up, I was never into drinking or smoking. I didn't want to drink because I've had GI tract issues my entire life. So I was always afraid I was going to throw up. So when my friends in like high school were drinking, I was always like, I took a taste of beer. I was like, that tastes disgusting. And so if I had to acquire that taste, I might throw up, and I don't want to throw up. I was like on Seinfeld when he was all proud he didn't throw up for like however many years. I was always all proud. I don't throw up. I don't throw up. And then with the smoking, my friends did it. So I always gravitated to stoners. So people always thought I was one, but I never did. I was always proud. I never touched a marijuana cigarette a day in my life. I always would say that. And so when I went to WWE, I was hanging out with, like, the group I hung out with on my spare time. We were all trying to get on TV. We were all busting our ass. And they introduced to me how you can be an athlete and how cannabis can really help. And so I was always the one like passing it, you know, just they were my homies, whatever. And then it's crazy because once I started going on the road, like from show to show, I kept bumping into Rob Van Dam. And he had no idea what my stance was on cannabis. And he would just say, you know what's interesting about cannabis? If they stopped chopping down trees and used hemp paper instead of trees for paper, we'd have more oxygen because of the trees. And I'd be like, that's a thing? Because this was back in the early 2000s, before we knew all the great things of cannabis.
Yeah.
And so he kept giving me these different things. So when I was on my off time and hanging out with my buddies, being the one, I was just like, man, you know, my friends, they really benefit from it. And like Rob Van Dam, he's like telling me all these things. And so I was like, whatever. And so I hit it. I remember that everyone was like, oh, what? And so, and then I was just like, dude. And so it was for me because when I was in high school, I was known for being the girl who liked spooky things, but always had on little skirts and platform shoes and her Bible in her purse. It didn't make sense to people. They're like, her cleavage is out. She has mini dresses on, mini skirts on. The Bible, wrestling, vampires. How does this make sense? It was me. So
hell yeah.
The person I was then, even though there was a lot of darkness around me, I felt like I could never be that person again, that light. And then I thought, oh, that's why when people like want to live their glory days, oh, when I was younger, I thought that's what that meant. But the first time I medicated, I felt like high school Shelly again. And I was like, whoa. And then I continued, and then repressed memories came to me, and I was able to understand why I was in a bad mood for so many years. And I was like, dude, this is crazy. Wow. So by that time, so you have to understand, I went straight to I didn't have to deal with the dirt weed and all this. Like I was there with these superstars that were like, here's the hydro, da, da, da. Okay. And so being around RVD, I saw how other stoner fans it was different with him, and how cannabis brought that differentness. And what I saw his fans, the gleam in their eyes, and when he would hit their like whatever, and they'd be like, holy shit, I smoked with RVD. So after I learned what cannabis did for me, I was like, I want people one day to see that about me. And I'll never forget, I was fired from WWE already. I was in Canada. And I was at this show, and the girl that was like driving me around, she was like, my friend's so sad because you were her favorite, but she's getting married today. She's like, I'm actually going to, I missed her wedding because my job today is to drive you to the shows and everything, but I'm going to her reception. And then the show was over, and she was like, would you mind if I call my friend and you just wished her? And I said, let's go to that reception. So we went to the reception, and it was at this girl's house. She was like crazy. And in Canada, I found myself in this kitchen at like 2 a.m. with all these stoners. She has her wedding dress on. We're smoking, and then we're like talking, and this guy getting all deep, and then this guy in the corner goes, I can't believe I'm smoking out with Shelly Martinez. And I said, I made it. I made it. So when you say you feel like you wanted to hang out, like, I guess what I'm saying is, and I tell that story because it's fun, but that's what my vibe has always been. Like, I just want to give people that experience because, damn it, I'm a SoCal girl, and that's my duty as a SoCal girl. You're supposed to host people and give them the Cali vibes because there's so many transplants here that people think that that's how Cali people are, and it's like, no, dude.
No, they're from somewhere else.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, they
People
grew up
bitch, I'm like,
somewhere else. They're not really that person. Like, I've always loved Southern California. I'm from Maine, but I've always felt like a Southern California person. I don't feel like I'm from fucking Maine. I don't like it here. I never have liked it
people
here.
like you don't mess it up here. You know what I'm saying? You're part of the good vibes where people would probably think, oh, whatever. But it's like when people are like, oh, this and that, I'm like, start asking people where they're from. See how many are from here. Because what I was getting is, I can't believe you're from California, like your vibe. And I'm like, this is the California vibe.
Yes.
And it's my duty to share because sharing is caring.
Yes. Amen. Amen. Exactly. And more people should be like that, like laid back and just, a chill
Well, I've done
person.
a lot of work to be that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was the era where I was very angry, like I was I would fight anyone looking for it sometimes. And that was my reputation. I was on edge all the time, and I didn't know why.
Right.
It was frustrating. That's why when I had those repressed memories, I was like, dude, no wonder why I've had this ugly chip on my shoulder where like I'm lucky something ugly hasn't happened to me when I go bow up to dudes and I'm like 5'4" and at the time like 120 pounds. Like, what the F? Like, no, Shelly, no, I'm lucky.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh my God, we've had so much fun with you tonight. I swear. Okay, well, all right. Well, we have to wrap things up, but we have had so much fun. We with us, an hour episode is never a fucking hour. It's always ends up being anywhere from an hour to 2 hours or more. Because we have so much fun on our shows.
Yep.
We have so much fun listening and talking to these wonderful guests about their lives and about their projects. And we're just really excited that you were on the show tonight. You were like one of my favorite ones that I've ever interviewed. And you're up there with like little Elvira for me, to be honest with you. Like when it comes to like who I've interviewed in life, you're like up there. You know what I mean? So that's always been like a feather in my cap that I got to interview Shelly Martinez and be friends with her. And just like, that's always been a big deal to me. So thank you. I'm fangirling it. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's all
Thank you.
I think it's all fantastic. And once I get the ball going on my other project, I'll definitely let you know so I can come on here. And,
Okay,
we will definitely bring you back. You are invited anytime that you want to come back, anytime at all. Yay. We will gladly have you. But we want to thank Shelly Martinez so much tonight for being on the show. And go check her out, ShellyMartinez.net. and that is her personal website where you can check out all of her projects. Go to her IMDb page. Just type in Shelly Martinez. That's SHELLY. No EY. It's Y. Don't do the other one. We don't want to piss her off.
Yeah.
I call the EY Shellys. I call the EY Shellys the illegitimate Shellys. It's just a Y. I don't know about this EY business.
Yeah, it's just but you can go check her out, especially her IMDb page. You can check out all of her projects. She's got a bunch of movies and TV shows that she's been in, music videos. Go check out some of her horror movies that she's done. Lots of great projects. And then also go, check out her ECW the old days, and WWE and all that, and TNA wrestling too. So lots of fun, and she even has her own Wikipedia page. So if you want to know more about her, just type in Shelly Martinez, and you will find out anything you want to know about her. And it has links to take you to places, but especially ShellyMartinez.net, though. And you can also check her out on Instagram, Shelly from Cali.
The number 4 at the end.
Oh, 4, sorry. Shelly from Cali 4. It's so weird you had to have a fucking 4 on the end there.
Well, 4 is my favorite number, but they kicked me off of Shelly from Cali, so I had to
Me too.
4 is my favorite number.
4s. It's always 4. I told Amy all the time my story with 4s. That's what I'm saying. It's so crazy. See, that's why we're meant to be friends. See, there you go. The 4s. It all circles back around. Like, I'm obsessed with that. Everything's like our podcast. We have another podcast called Gagging for More, and it has the number 4 in the middle. We're gonna be interviewing drag artists, so it's gonna be fucking fun. I can't wait. You know what I mean? So
the best is when it's 4 4s. That's the best.
Yes, dude. My box number for my address out in Los Angeles. I still have an address in Los Angeles. I keep a box, always, so I can have a Cali address. Well, because my entertainment business is technically registered to California, so that way I can be bi-coastal.
Totally.
But yeah, our box number is 444.
Oh, I'm so jealous. That's
why we do that. Like everything. I don't know what it is. I'm a weirdo. Anyway, it's a lucky number. Anyway, but we want to thank Shelly so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you so much.
Hell yes.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, anytime. We're definitely going to bring you back when you go to announce that big project once you get that completed. So please let us know. And again, go check her out on all of her social media and her website. And remember always to like, share, subscribe, and follow. Biggest thing, support. Because with people like you supporting our artists, it's a better world. All right, we want to also thank this sultry songstress Amy Bowman for being on the show tonight. We want to thank the Mac Daddy of Metal, Shyler Staver. And we want to also thank the beautiful, effervescent Samantha Bailey.
Samantha.
Hell yeah. And also, yes, and Gina's there somewhere too. Thank you to Gina for being on screen. And that was an epic belch. We loved you. So anyway.
Gina, girl.
Anyway. This has been your hostess with the mostest, Jennifer DeVoe Muse. You can check out all of our sites. We are with Sony Music Entertainment, iHeartRadio, and lots of other projects. You can check us out. We're the at FFHSFU, which is Fear, Fascination, Horror, Sci-Fi Unleashed podcast. You can find us on Instagram. Exactly. I want to say FU now. Instagram. You can find us on our Facebook page. We have our YouTube channel, which is Get Real Global TV. You can watch all of our podcasts. We have a bunch. We have Wicked Entertaining. We've got this show, The Fear, Fascination, Horror, Sci-Fi, and Fantasy Unleashed. We are about to launch the Venus and Mars Show podcast. And we're about to launch the the Gagging for More. So we got lots of projects, lots of excitement. Check us out. Come back next week with us on Friday night for Wicked Entertaining. Always on at 6 p.m. Pacific time. That's 9 p.m. Eastern time on Rock Rage Radio. So go check that one out. And you can find us anywhere podcasts being listened or heard. And go check out our radio station, Real Global Radio, KGRL, on Spreaker. All right. Thank you so much for everybody watching tonight. We appreciate you. Be safe and reach for the stars.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
We